So there's a note called the second or the ninth. Works on almost any major chord. Or if you know a bit of blues stuff, you put a seventh in. So when you hear someone and you really like it, they're probably not playing what's written. They're probably playing around the chords.
Welcome back, everyone, to Chip Lunch Podcast. It's wonderful to have you along with us, and of course, wonderful to have Brayden along here with me.
Wonderful to have Joe on.
Is it? Are you sure?
I'm feeling great this morning.
Are you?
Good to see you.
Why are you feeling so great?
My daughter slept for 6 hours
Woof.
in a row.
6 hours straight.
Felt magical.
Magic. It's called magic.
It was awesome.
Excellent.
I was very proud of her.
I thought you were going to say you were proud of yourself.
No, I had very little to do with it.
Oh, yeah, that's not true. Sure, she felt so safe and secure in your fathership that she wanted to go to sleep for a long time. That's excellent. Good work.
So, feeling like a new man this morning.
Excellent.
After a couple of rough nights in a row.
Oh, yes. Proper sleep is always helpful.
Yes.
Let's welcome our guest.
Yes.
Maybe it's early soul revivalist / soul revival adjacent. Dave, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Thank you for coming on.
Yeah.
It's really awesome to have you on. And you've been saying, or you did say just before we started recording, you've got a couple of soul revival artifacts. We're going to save that for the Shock Absorber podcast.
I do.
Because that you're going on that as well.
Double up.
Today. Double up. Very cool. Which I would like to do with more of our guests, if we do have guests. We don't have that many guests on Shock Absorber, but that's what we should definitely do. But Dave, have you done a podcast before?
No.
Oh.
I've done video recordings and things for work, but I've not done a conversation.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, that's well, welcome.
I don't think I have.
Hopefully we don't.
Maybe before it was called podcast.
Yeah.
Probably done an interview or something.
Yeah. Vox Pop or face to camera.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you know it's named after the iPod, the Apple iPod?
Podcasting?
Yeah.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, of course you do.
It's pretty cool, yeah. You can't be on Soul Revolver stuff unless you're an Apple fanboy. That's the problem. Is that right? Would you call yourself Apple fanboy, bro?
I come from the design world, so there was no kind of choice.
If you're not Blue Bubble, I'll tell you.
It's like Adobe and Mac, and that's how it all rolls.
Which that's definitely where it has been, but I feel like that's shifting a little bit. I think maybe because Mac is more prevalent.
Yeah.
People are more willing to.
Yeah, and I think Adobe have priced themselves at a very high standard at the moment.
Yes, they're very expensive.
So it means that a lot of people are swapping to
Canva?
Yeah, well, cheaper. Anything that's cheaper.
Oh, yeah. I mean, software's rented now, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
You don't buy it anymore. You don't even buy a license for a couple of years. You pay an annual rent, and when you don't pay it, it stops working.
Yeah, exactly. I was having that discussion with Shire yesterday, actually.
The hard thing for, I work at a school.
Yeah.
We don't have a lot high budgets. We're not a profit-based industry. And so when software moved to be renting, it's a huge amount of our budget.
Yeah, right. If that's understandable, it would be.
So we're looking for versions that we can, good enough without having to be the,
it's hard when you've got like an industry standard and then you're trying to,
bring that down.
Well, then like Canva and DaVinci and stuff are all great. It's just I've just had 10 to 15 years of using one thing, and then you try and use something else that's a little bit trickier.
Yeah, I bet.
Do love DaVinci.
Yeah.
That's a free editing software. It's amazing. Anyway, Dave, the first question that we like to ask everyone who comes on the Chip Lunch podcast is, how do you like to eat your hot chips?
I'm so glad you asked this one. I am a vinegar guy. So I like a bit of salt, plain, not chicken.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Excellent.
But I love vinegar on it.
Yeah.
How much vinegar?
You know when the bag drops out from being... when the paper disintegrates under the thing?
Yeah.
So
that much vinegar.
Yeah, white vinegar. I really like white. I got criticised once in a fish and chip shop for how much vinegar I put in.
Really?
Oh, really?
Put in the chips.
In like a squeezy bottle? You're just shaking it all over?
I just want to tip it in. Yeah. So I really like that.
By the owner of the fish and chip shop?
Yeah. It was a long time ago.
Okay.
Brooklyn, Brooklyn station where you go over the Hawkesbury Bridge.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, we were down there with my parents. So.
And what did he say? That's a bit much?
he said something more than that. It was a long time ago, obviously. But I just thought I was overdoing it a bit. So,
Okay.
But yeah, definitely, it's hard though because not every shop has a bottle of vinegar where you can just squeeze it on. So that's if you're at the shop.
I've found that the people that say they like vinegar have an English background. Is that the case for you?
Yeah, English on my father's side and Irish on my mother's side.
Oh, there we go. Yes. So, UK and Ireland influence.
My daughter's been using aioli, so I don't mind a little bit of that, but vinegar's my go.
Yeah, okay. Wow. And you said plain salt. It's good to know. I know you've said you hadn't listened to a chip lunch before. There's a very long-standing battle between plain salt on my side and Brayden and Ethan are chicken salt.
Yeah.
So, I like chicken salt. I just think if the chips are on their own, then they don't need an animal member to be influencing.
I feel like chicken salt and vinegar would be an off combo. Like
so there used to be this shop called Chickadee Chicken.
Mm.
Good
name.
They were based up. I think they started up on the Central Coast where I grew up. And you get a quarter of a chicken and chips in a foil bag wrapped up, and the juices of the chicken. And the salt would flavour the chips, and it was basically a chicken salt without chemicals.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so I remember that as being a really nice taste, and maybe that was the inspiration for so-called chicken salt. Yeah.
We did do a bit of research back in the day about where chip lunch came from. It came from South Australia. Yeah.
What did? Chip lunch?
No, chicken salt.
Chicken salt.
Oh, chicken salt.
That's where it originated from. So for some reason, a guy I think he was English and he wanted to make the expats feel at home. But I'm like, they didn't have chicken salt before, so I don't understand.
Yeah.
We had some friends over from California and they just thought it was amazing. I need to send them some chicken
really?
salt.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I do like it, but if it's just chips, then, just keep purity of the sodium.
Purity of the sodium. I like that. That's my new group that I'm starting. Well, I think
it'd be like flavouring coffee, like
putting
syrups.
vanilla or syrup. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't drink coffee, so I don't know that. But yes,
you
don't usually have a double shot mocha.
No, that's
caramel latte.
Hazelnut.
That screams American, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, don't want to scream American.
No.
Friend of mine,
aluminum.
He has coffee, pure like that. Took his work colleague to a very serious coffee place, and when she asked for hazelnut syrup or something, the answer started with the words "We believe." And that when there's a creed.
Exactly.
We believe that coffee is best enjoyed with the purity of the bean. Once it starts with "We believe,"
that's what I'm going to say for the purity of the sodium. We believe in the purity of the sodium.
Yeah.
Not.
What is it we believe?
Let's say it together.
Let's say it together.
Yeah.
Unreal. All right, Dave. The next question I've got for you. Sorry, Dave or David? Do you prefer?
Probably David.
Okay, I'll say David.
What I get called depends on the eras of my life.
Oh.
So if you're in the music scene, I get called Rocky.
Ooh.
Rocky Road, Stonestreet.
Okay.
It's just a play on my last name.
That's clever, though.
If I bunch into an old muso or something, you go, "Hey, Rocky." So,
okay.
And then Dave from a certain era, but
prefer.
My mother would say, "I called you David, not Dave." So I'm not offended, but.
Okay. Yeah. No worries.
Stuart won't call me David though.
Refuse to call you
back
David.
Too far. Yeah.
Okay, David.
If you want.
Oh, that's all right.
You asked, so I answered.
Of course. David, how did you become a Christian?
Okay, so I grew up in a Catholic family.
Okay.
Practicing, so I went to Catholic schools all my life. I went to church every Sunday. I had my first communion. Believing mother in the Catholic scene. So I grew up believing in God. I grew up with the Bible too, and so in the Catholic schools we were taught the Bible, but never really understood salvation by faith, knowing Jesus the way that I would say I do now. So I had a Christian framework to start with.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so when I was in year 11 and 12 at a Catholic school, a friend of mine at the school, Michael, and we started sort of asking a few more questions about what we would call being religious. So being religious meant being more serious about your faith. That was a term that was sort of more common in the Catholic scene, because we didn't ever heard of terms like being saved or things like that. It was more a live a good life and serve God.
Yeah.
So, and at that time, quite a committed Catholic teacher, and one of our English teachers, I think he was we were talking to him about that stuff, and he invited us to a charismatic Catholic church service.
Okay.
It wasn't his church; he just knew about it, and I think he thought it would show us a sort of a religious side of people that were quite committed, and that was at La Perouse. You wouldn't be allowed to invite students to something these days. It was all good though. He was a good guy, Mr. Braun, and we went there, and they were Catholics who were just expressing themselves, and you could see their love for Jesus, and I think that opened our eyes a bit from the old sort of turn up every week because you had to. It was a sin not to go to church, I think, and then empty the car park as quick as possible to get home because the footy starts at 6 or something. So that just showed us something, and I think that started to interest us. And then at the time, and I don't know if it's still the case, the youth groups of all Catholic churches, at least in Sydney that I knew of, were called Antioch. Okay. So they'd sort of agreed on a common name. So you'd go to Antioch on Friday or Saturday night. And so there was a church near the school, which was near where he lived, which was up in Wahroonga, North Shore. I came down from Gosford to go to school at that point. And that was his church. And so we started going to Antioch there, just trying to sort of explore being a more active Catholic person. And so we also at the time, this was, during year 12, I think, or maybe just the first year after year 12, we thought maybe we should read the Bible because it had been there with us. Yeah. Like it had always been there. Yeah. And no one had ever dissed it. Like no priest or teacher had ever said, don't really believe it or believe, some of it. Like it had always been considered part of the faith. And so we started reading the Bible, or at least the New Testament. I should have brought it actually. I've still got my little, at an Antioch retreat, so they were called retreats, I got given a little white New Testament. I've still got it, a Good News, News Bible. So, we started reading that, and I lived in Gosford. He lived, as I said, down near Hornsby, and we only had landlines back then. This is a long time ago. And so we would sort of, when we weren't seeing each other, we would ring and say, hey, check, Luke 14 or something. Okay. And so, what I realise now is that the Holy Spirit was opening our eyes. Right. Yeah. Like it wasn't just, I've got this great idea. So, the Holy Spirit was leading us somewhere. And so we were doing that kind of thing. And I remember a lot of people talk about John 3:16, but for me, I think it's John 3. You'll have to fact check that, but 3:3. Must be born again. So I'm reading this up in Gosford, and it says, Nicodemus, I think it is, you must be born again. Yeah. And I'm like, born again? Like isn't that those TV evangelists in America? No internet back then. It's just what we'd seen on TV. So I'm ringing Michael going, check this one out, because we were doing that kind of, hey, check this one out. Like we were finding stuff for the first time, which is great. I read it now and it's like, I've seen this. But to see these things for the first time, they talk about the your eyes, like now I see through a glass darkly, but that kind of thing. So starting to see stuff, and it had been there my whole life, which was interesting. And we're saying, what's that about? What is that about? And around about that time, my friend played in a cricket team on the North Shore. He's a bowler, and they finished the season and had an end-of-season party. And an older guy there, guy in his 30s, we were like 18, 17, 18, would have been 18, a guy in his 30s who was another bowler, Graham, he just shared his faith with Michael. And he was I think on a recent shock absorber, someone was talking about, might have been Stu talking about warning, second warning, final warning, this sort of the end times rapture, it's all going to come and the mark's going to be a tattoo on your forehead. He was like watching the signs of the times, which was really exciting for us at the time. So, and Michael said, "Oh, you got to come and meet this guy." He was talking sort of the end of the world and the millennium, and the second was like, for someone our age, that was so exciting. Yeah. So he lived in Turramurra, just a couple of train stations down the line, and I'd started uni, started doing electrical engineering at UTS, and so I was travelling. I could travel up and down via the North Shore line. Yeah, and so we'd drop in to his house, live there with his wife and his son, and he would then start sharing the gospel with us. And so from being inspired to check out this Bible that had sort of been around our lives for so long, God brought into our lives a person who could sort of take us the next step. And he got us interested in the book of Romans and what it means to die to yourself. So, he was sort of on the, I don't hold to some of the premillennial stuff, but he was a dedicated, committed Christian And so that led us to explore further, start to read other books that supported the Bible, get an Old Testament as well. So I walked into Gosford Christian Centre, which I'd seen all my life but never dared to go in. So, and said, and this guy had said, "Oh, King James is the Bible to get." How there's sort of there is a group of people that hold to the first translation. So. So I walked in, this old lady, and she says, "I want a King James Bible." And she goes, "Oh, we don't get many young people asking for that." I said, "Oh, yeah, it's the best." And she goes, "I think so too." Anyway, I tried to read it. Oh, golly, it was hard. I still got it. So, I went back and got an NIV after that. So started to read the Bible. So that's the early start. There's plenty more happened after that, but that got us interested in what you might call a biblical or an evangelical faith. Yeah.
Was there a certain point you think that you're like, I am a Christian?
Yeah, I remember a particular day. I was struggling with Romans and the concept of dying to self, and so this is like what? So I'm 18, and it's my first year after school. And I'm struggling with the sense that, because I was reading some books by a Chinese Christian who had been in prison called Watchman Nee. And he had a book particularly on Romans, and it was about dying to yourself and living to Christ and the new body and the new flesh. And I was worried that new person wouldn't be me. Like if I die to myself, do I lose David? Do I lose my personality? Do I just become a Christian robot, like a Stepford wife or something like that? And so, I was dealing with, am I still myself if I die to self? And we working through that. I don't know whether it was with our friend Graham or whether it was with somebody else, but I remember my bedroom in my house up in Gosford where I grew up. I was still living at home at that point. And I just remember a piece and realising. And I put on this Christian artist called Phil Keaggy. I only had about 3 records at that point. I had an Amy Grant best of, and I had a Phil Keaggy album called What a Day. He's a really good guitarist and singer from 70s and 80s. He's still going, actually. And there was a song he wrote called What a Day, and it talked about this day when the new heaven, the new earth, what a day it'll be when we all with the saints. And I played that on and it just clicked. And I think if you asked me, was there a day I became a Christian, which I would say a Protestant or evangelical Christian, it would be that day. And I just remember a joy sitting in my bedroom with my stereo system. I think that was probably the moment that I realised I could die to the flesh and be born again in Christ and still be David.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Why do you think that identity or who you are as David was so important to you?
Yeah, it's a good question, isn't it? I don't know. It might not be any noble reason. It could be, I didn't want to lose who I was. I liked who I was. I didn't want to let go. Maybe I needed to let go more. But, 18 years of my life had been that person, and I think might have been scared of what God could do if I wasn't who I was.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it was a thing for me to struggle with.
Would it have something to do with growing up in the Catholic Church too? You're like, I have done it all already, so now you're telling me to die to myself, and then is it related to that?
Yeah, look, there could be. And certainly while I had a positive Catholic upbringing, it's quite different to a Protestant position on things. And we how we looked at non-Catholic Christians was it was hard to. The first day I went to an Anglican church, I felt a little bit like Martin Luther, eating meat on a Friday. Was there a lightning bolt kind of strike me? Like I felt like I was abandoning my culture. It would be like a Muslim or a Buddhist becoming a Christian. No, it wouldn't be that much, but for me to go from my uncles, my aunts, my mother, they sung in the choir at St Bridget's, Marrickville, a huge, long Irish Catholic, knew all the priests and in the churches, and so quite a strong cultural pull. Yeah. And that was just a one-off visit. So I went to Christchurch at Gladesville. I don't know why. We'd visited a few different churches by then. We'd gone to a Baptist church. We've gone to a couple of other churches, but for some reason, the Church of England, where that nasty king had split from the one true church because he wanted to get more divorces, which is what we thought. That seemed to be the one where I was really stepping out, and so it was hard culturally to step away from what I knew my mother strongly held and her ancestors had strongly held. So
how did you find, you mentioned like the terminology of like exploring being more religious. How did you find, it's an interesting terminology, isn't it? So but like, did you find it, how did your family react to like, oh, he's just interested in this is whatever? Or?
So there was a family across the road from where I grew up, and they were Baptists. Yeah. And this is 1970s, 80s Baptists. So, our sense of Baptists were, wow, holy people, your cliches, don't dance, don't wear makeup, whatever. Yeah. And they had kids, and we went over to play, and my mum said, mind your language when you're over there, because they're religious. And I went,
aren't we religious?
We've been reciting the creed every Sunday, the one true Catholic, and when we say the one true Catholic Apostolic Church, it's capital C Catholic, know. I'm like, and I remember thinking, I don't know if I said it or thought it, I went, if they're religious, what are we? I remember it So I think that was a behavioural thing, that their religiosity was that they were clean living, or that, not that we weren't. Yeah. But there wasn't, in our nomenclature, in our words that we used in this faith that I grew up in, there wasn't born again, there wasn't full on. Yeah. There wasn't those kind of terms to sort of say you're not just a Christian, you're actually you're into Jesus, you love the Lord. The best one you could get was religious. Yeah. Because there were, plenty of people who'd grown up with a Catholic background who didn't go to church. Yeah. Just like Church of England people as well. And so to say you were religious meant you did the things. Yeah. I don't know how much it talked about your heart or not, but you were there at church. You went to church on Sunday. You went to confession.
Yeah.
You might have even, I think my mother's mother went to church during the week, and at her church there was a mass every morning.
Yeah.
Because it was considered, I think, a receiving grace to be in the mass and to partake in the body of Christ. So the more you went, the better it was. The better it was for you. So, we'd never heard of. No one ever said work hard, because no one had ever actually used, faith by works. No one, no one flat out those terms. But it was to live a pious life, versus to accept the forgiveness of Jesus on the cross. So, religious was a term that took the next step from simply being born a Catholic or a Church of England person.
You just were that.
Yeah, religious. We wouldn't use the term religious probably as Protestants, but we would use other terms.
Yeah.
Oh, they're really active in their church. They can see how much they love the Lord. They're serving God.
Yeah.
They show the fruits of the Spirit. We would say religious. I mean, my mother, mum and dad are still alive, and dad's not a Catholic, which is interesting because it was so much a Catholic family.
Yeah.
But Dad never went to any other. I think he traced his back history to Salvation Army.
Oh, okay.
But he's not really. He's been a church attender, but mum has. But I started going. There was a church up the end of our street. I could walk to it, and it was a Pentecostal church called Gosford Christian Centre.
Yeah.
And I started going to that, and I didn't know what to tell Mum, so I'd go for a walk on a Sunday up the street. and when I told her, she was actually okay. Like I don't know if I asked her now, but at the time, like I think she thought the Catholic Church was the true church, and maybe one day I would return. But I was religious.
Yeah.
And at that point, I think I was more religious than my two brothers and my sister in terms of church attendance. So I think for her, I'm religious. It's not the Catholic Church, but I'm practicing something, and I believe in God. So she was actually pretty cool about it.
That's cool.
Yeah, she might have prayed that I would, see the light, but she was pretty cool about it. Yeah.
Can I ask you to rewind a little bit and tell us what's it like growing up in the Central Coast?
Oh, I love growing up on the Central Coast. Yeah, so I was born in Petersham in the inner west, and I stayed there till one year of school, so kindergarten at Marrickville. Yep. And then my parents bought a place up at Narara, which is the first train station north of Gosford. Mm-hmm. So from 5 years old, I grew up on the Central Coast. So, and this is 1975 to the late 80s. So it's a good time where we grew up, which was a normal suburb with normal blocks, but there were large parts of it that were fields, like it used to be an orchard there. So, a real great outdoor upbringing.
Okay.
There's a railway dam up the back of Narara which used to supply water to the steam engines. Okay. So we go up, we could swim in that dam, swing on swings and jump in the dam. Yeah. There was a football oval just down the road, cricket football oval down the road. So every afternoon we'd have neighbourhood cricket, soccer, football, league, whatever. Mm-hmm. And a real no internet, no mobile phones, no fat tire e-bikes. If you wanted to get somewhere, you pedalled. So I remember in summer leaving home on our dragsters or BMXs later on, and coming home when the sun set. I don't know what we ate for lunch. I can't remember what we ate for lunch, but if you wanted a drink, you just grabbed a hose of someone's house. Yeah. And if they yelled out "oi," you just went to another house. So, really great, good time. And the suburb was a similar age. Like I said, we could field a cricket team from the neighbours, basically. A couple of people had a pool after a while. We got an upright pool up the back after a while. So it was a great time. Yeah, great place and a great time to grow up.
And what's a school? You said you went to Marrickville to begin with, but then what schools did you go to?
So I went to St Bridget's at Marrickville for 1 year. Mm-hmm. Then I went to St Patrick's Primary School at East Gosford. Then I went to St Edward's, St Eddie's High School.
A lot of saints.
But Eddie's only went to year 10 back then. A lot of Christian Brothers schools I actually went from year 5 to year 10.
Okay.
So there was no senior Catholic school in
Actually,
the
I think
area.
my dad did had the similar thing.
Yeah, they
Catholic
go
school.
to year 12 now.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of my mates from Eddie's went to the local high schools, Henry Kendall High, Gosford High, etc. But I went to St Leo's at Wawunga. So for 11 and 12. So I caught the train down from Gosford to Waitara.
How long's that trip?
50 hour. You can take longer to get to Cronulla in traffic. To be serious, there was an express train in the Arvo.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it would go Hornsby, Woy Woy, Gosford, and I was home at about 4:10. So it wasn't too bad.
That's not
and
bad.
that's where you met Michael, was it?
Yeah, he lived near the school, and I met him in year 11 and 12. So a real formative time, that 11 and 12. Like, you're 16. So I was 16. I was young, so I was 16 in year 11, 17 in year 12. And these, city guys were a bit more sophisticated to me too, like coasties.
That's how you were called.
We were pretty, they called. There was about 7 or 8, maybe 9 of
Look
us.
at these coasties.
And we were coasties, and we were pretty laid back compared to we'd grown up. I mean, a lot of some of the guys in my year who lived more nearer the beach than I, like Terrigal, they'd get the bus home, surf till it was dinner, have dinner, get back out till it was dark, pretty cruisy. And I wasn't a surfer, but I was pretty cruisy. So you come down to the North Shore, it's a bit more sophisticated. I got a whole new, I'm listening to, AM radio up there, and I'm coming down here, and my friends are into The Cure and The Clash, and like, wow, Pink Floyd, and I like, so it's, it was good for me. It was good for me. I got used to the city. I got used to traveling up and down, and so so that was 4 Catholic schools. Yeah.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So, and where does your? I know that you love music. Where does that grow from? Was that from when you were in high school?
When I started learning piano in year 3.
Oh, okay.
So my mum and dad are both good singers. Mum can play a little bit of piano.
Did they make you play piano so they could sing?
They didn't make me, no. So a guy in my year, a guy in my class called Danny. My primary Catholic school, St Patrick's, was a nun school. So there was still some nuns. They weren't, not every class, but I had a nun once or twice. So a sister, like a Catholic nun. Yeah. And there was one nun. I don't know whether she taught or not, because the convent was next to the school, but she taught piano.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And so Danny learnt piano off her. Trouble was, if you got it wrong, she hit your knuckles with a ruler.
I was going to say, I've heard that's the punishment.
It was pretty strict old stuff.
Yeah. And
I remember saying to Mum, can I learn piano, but not off Sister Pancratius? So working class family, I don't know how they afforded this piano. So they got this second-hand piano. It's still there. It's a 1957 English Daneman piano. So I think my sister wants to inherit it, and it'd be nice that it stays in the family. 'Cause I've already got a piano, so I don't need another one.
Yeah.
And somehow they afforded it, and somehow they afforded piano lessons. Well, I know Mum didn't work when we were growing up, but she took on ironing and some cleaning, I think, to pay for piano lessons and maybe even the school fees.
Yeah, right.
So I think through seeing him learning an instrument, I asked to learn an instrument. So in year 3, I started learning piano. Had a very good teacher, not a sister.
No rulers involved.
Yeah. So I had 4 piano teachers in my time, including when I was at uni, and they were all the right one for the right time. So my first teacher now lives in Tasmania. I'm still in touch with her. So I really liked it, and I think I did okay. The teacher seemed to think I was doing okay with it. So I took piano through high school. When I got to high school, my music teacher at St Eddie's, I noticed he was playing music, but the music was only a melody line and guitar chords. And I said, Mr. Droz, how are you doing that?
What's going on there?
And he said, well, if it says E, just play a double octave E in the left hand, and this is an E major and this is an E minor. And so I started working that out. And my mum and dad had a Beatles Complete, which is like the music of every Beatles song.
Yeah.
And they loved the Beatles. They had the Beatles Complete albums as well, so I knew all the Beatles songs.
Yeah.
So using the Beatles Complete in like year 9 and 10, when I got into elective music, I started to learn how to comp chords, which is the absolute best thing for church and jazz and playing pop songs. So piano player being able to play chords.
Yeah, you can just play around the...
Yeah,
okay.
I did keep up my classical piano though, which was good too. Good for my technique, good for my reading.
Which is kind of just sheet music, is that right?
Yeah, all the dots are
all
written out. There's no chords. So sometimes if it's a hard thing these days, I'll work the chords out so that I can sort of fake it a little bit. Like if I'm playing in a show or something like that.
Okay, yeah.
So Mr. Droz showed me how to play that. Then in year 11, when I changed schools, I took up saxophone.
Oh.
And the guy that taught me, Dave Rutledge, he was a jazz player, lived in the eastern suburbs. So first of all, I'm classical piano.
Yeah.
Then I learned rock piano, chords piano. Then in 11 and 12, through saxophone, I learned improvisation, complex chords and things. And I started to transfer those things back to the piano.
Yeah.
So I sort of go, classical, rock, jazz, blues. Yeah, that was sort of the progression. And so after electrical engineering didn't work out, which was my first course.
Yeah.
Well, what was happening? I was coming home and playing piano all night. And it's high in maths in Elec Eng and physics. So I think we covered the 4-unit course in about 2 days. That was the start of the course. So I think I'm coming home playing piano, not studying maths. And I think maybe I should rethink this. So, and then I did a music degree and teaching degree and became a music teacher.
Because that was going to be my next question, was that I know you mentioned electrical engineering, but why did you want to do that in the first place? But then obviously change it, like you said.
I like tech. I like science. I like tech. I liked electronics. I pulled televisions apart. I had little breadboards to do projects. And I think I saw myself as the next synthesizer designer for Roland. Like I wanted to do either hardware synth design or software synth design.
Yeah.
So I still like that stuff. I love programming synthesizers like the old way. And I got an old analog Roland Juno 106 at home, and got a Fender Rhodes electric piano, and a couple of more modern things. So I hoped, I think that, I mean, how many jobs are there? Like 5 in the world, But I thought I'm going to be that guy. I'm going to work for Roland, and in Australia, like there'd be none. So I had that idea. Yeah. And I probably could have got that degree, but I could see that my passion, I think I'd chosen it, year 11, you want security. Year 12, you're like, what's a job with security? Music's not really a secure job. And so I started thinking music's my passion. And I felt like at school I was able to help other students with subjects like maths and things like that. When I explained things to them, some of them even did better than me in the test. Yeah, right. Which reminds me sort of, like the coach of Wimbledon has rarely won Wimbledon. I don't know if you ever thought about that, but sometimes they have. Sometimes they're an ex-Wimbledon, but there's some people that are amazing at getting someone to be better than themselves, even though personally they're not. The swinging coaches who have never been in the Olympics.
There's a lot of coaches like that in lots of different sports.
Yeah. You're right. Yeah. You're right. So I think the ability to coach someone to be better, you don't have to be the best at it. Yeah. You've got to be able to see how, and people that are the best at it aren't always the best teachers either.
No, you need to communicate.
It's an ability that goes alongside being good at your subject. You got to be fairly good, of course.
Sure. Yeah.
So I started to think maybe music and teaching, and so took up piano lessons again. Yeah. I got a job for the second half of the year down in Artarmon. Used that to pay for piano lessons. Brushed up so hard, because worked so hard to get my piece, because you had to audition at the time to get into music teaching.
Right.
Yeah. So I got in and got into UNSW. That's why I moved down to the Shire, actually.
Oh, right. Well, that's a good transition. Yeah. I was just going to ask you just before, like while you're in uni, what's church look like for you?
So while I was at UTS, which was my first year, that was all the exploring faith and starting to go to churches. Got baptised at that point again, I guess, in a Baptist church. The minister knew this guy Graham, who'd been the cricketer who talked to us about the faith.
Yep.
We visited a few churches up around that sort of North Shore area, and I started going to Gosford Christian Centre. So I walked up there with no idea what to expect.
I want to be a sneaky walks.
And this lovely old couple, I don't know, her name was Olive, and I can't remember his name. They were so warm and inviting, and I just felt quite good about that. I actually skipped a bit. I was in a pseudo-Christian cult for about 6 months.
Okay, let's not skip over that.
Yeah.
What happened there?
So just like at the cricket game where this guy had my friend Michael had bumped into a street preacher guy who'd invited him to a Bible study.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, "Oh, you need to come. You should come along and hear this guy. Like, they're really full on, full religious."
Yeah, very religious. Yeah.
And so this was based on Christianity. It was based on, I won't say the name, but it was based on Christianity, but very authoritarian. I can now a very top down, even the Bible studies. So you go to this series of Bible studies, and it's meant to induct you into the church. You go to the church. There was only one in Sydney at the time, and incredibly enthusiastic. Like, they'd yell out "Amen" to all the preaching, and you could almost get it would almost carry you along.
Yeah.
Like, it'd be hard to not say "Amen" when everyone else is around. Like, who's this guy? I didn't get a harumph out of this guy, So, and so for someone that had, I guess, experienced religion where you just turn up on Sunday, whether you're passionate or not, it was actually exciting to think these are serious Christians. They're not mucking around. But there's just, I don't know, a little bit of that, I think, a little bit of that not wanting to lose myself in Romans gave me a bit of pause, where one of the Bible studies was about sin, and you were asked to confess your weaknesses and sins. And it just didn't sit right with me. I found out later that they use that then as they weaponize that as your weaknesses to use against you. And so I was going along, I don't know, 5 or 6 months, coming down to go to the services, but they wanted me to move in with the brothers. So the brothers and the sisters lived together. They just crammed you into the houses, which I think is also a way of control. So there's an elder in the house, and they know what your weaknesses are and things like that. So it was a hard time for me, because my friend Michael stayed in, and so I just sort of drifted away. Not drifted. It just seemed a little too controlling for me. And in hindsight, I was right. Yeah. But at the time, I had mixed emotions that I wasn't full on enough. Yeah. I was compromising. I wasn't going to go for it. Yeah. So it was hard for me. Yeah, because he came up to Gosford and sort of put a hard word on me about not being in it, and we parted our ways for 10 years or more. So
that's tough.
Yeah, he's not in that now, and he's I haven't seen him personally, but he was up in Queensland for a long time. He's back in Sydney, so I hope to catch up with him. So neither of us are involved anymore. But so it was hard that bit.
Because you've just taken on this new faith of you, I'm a Christian. These guys are going hardcore. Yeah. And I want to be like that. But then, however,
I loved the passion. Yeah. But I think it was manufactured. We brought our friend Graham to it, and he wasn't into it. And he said any really interesting things. So it's like, preach, amen. Preach, amen. And we came out and he went, bah. I went, wow. This just, you don't say amen because you really believe it. You say amen to look good to the people. Fit in. Yeah. I'm not saying everyone did that, but it was just so you had to say amen at the right point. And it was a really involving, you lived with them, you gave them your money, you went church planting. It was a network where this one would land here, then it would do the next ones, and they'd do the next ones. So
it's probably it's interesting. You've had all these good experiences exploring these different things, and then you finally, I guess, had one where it rubbed the wrong way.
Yeah. So, I mean, just before that is when I got baptised.
Yeah.
I'd visited a few different churches. I'd gone to that Anglican church and thought I was, turning my back on, the lightning bolt would kill me.
Yeah.
I actually went in at that point because I'd had all these. So when I came out of that, especially meeting with Michael, he basically said that I was the dog returning to its vomit or the whatever. I thought I was damned. And I remember playing piano, trying to play my way, just improvising, play my way out of what could have been a depression at the time, spiritual depression.
Really?
That's when I walked up the street to Gosford Christian Centre because I got him a bit out of order. And that's when Olive and her husband showed me grace and love, and I had it was a positive. Yeah,
I was going to ask you what helped you move.
Yeah, that helped. It took a long time to not think that I wasn't really serious enough for a church that was that serious. That I was holding a bit back. That I liked a bit of the faith, but I wasn't willing to do all the things. So I was blaming myself. But I think something about my own cynicism saved me, and it took my friend, I don't know, decade or more to get to that same point. So So because of all that though, I wanted to know what theology was. What do I actually believe? Yeah. There's no internet back then. Yeah. So I went into Gosford Library, caught the bus in, the pocket full of 10 and 20 cent pieces because there's no cameras or anything. And I started looking up all the denominations. It was like only Christianity. I wasn't exploring other faiths. But started looking up what are Baptists, what are Anglicans, what are Presbyterians, what are Catholics, etc. in books, physical books. Yeah. And if the whole page was good, I'd drop a 10 cent on that one and photocopy it. Yeah. And if it was only a short bit, I'd handwrite it out. This is what you had to do back then. Mm-hmm. And so I think that started on me a sort of theology as a hobby, that if I was going to leave this cultural shift of my whole life and my ancestors, I needed to know exactly what I believed and why. And then having had a bit of a shock of a very full-on, pseudo-Protestant experience, I really wanted to know exactly what I did or didn't believe. Yeah.
How interesting. So you moved to the Shire, but what was the reason for that, sorry?
So the Teachers' College used to be at Oatley. It's now Georges River Senior College, but it was a teachers' college. Yep. It became part of UNSW. So you could do music teaching and a few other subjects there, like primary teaching. Mm-hmm. And I got into that. So I was travelling from Gosford to Oatley every day. It was a 2-hour trip. So 4 hours on the train a day. So I could work on the train, but that was still hard when you need to be practicing every day.
Yeah. Totally.
So,
the other people on the train aren't happy when you pull out.
Had my Walkman. So at the end of first year, which was my second year out, because remember I'd done a year of Elec Eng as well. So I'm in my 19th year now. So I moved to Penshurst. And so I could walk to college from Penshurst. It was a co-op house, ended up being 2 other guys moved in later from the same course. So 3 of us were all music students, which was great. It was a great house, great fun house. Yeah, a guitarist, a trumpeter and a keyboardist. Walk into a bar. So really, we converted the lounge room to a music room and we just ate out the back. So it's a great time. It was a good time, that house. Yeah. So that's why I moved to the St. George area. Yeah. Now, at college, one of the educational psychology lecturers, Alan Watson, was a Christian. And he came to the Christian Fellowship and he invited me. They were getting a new minister at Gosford Anglican.
I was going to say, is this Al Watson from Gosford? Yep.
Yeah, Alan Watson from Gosford. And and I met his daughter too. She actually works at the school that I work.
Okay, cool.
Still. And he was never one. He's never one to not come forward with an idea, Alan. So he's not going to die not wondering if he asked or whatever. So he asked this young guy who he's only met, would I come and help with the music at Meier? And I was going to Mortdale Baps at the time, and I was happy there. I'd been in a couple of other churches, but it's only so much time we've got. So you can leave that. Yada yada. And so I started praying about whether this would be the right thing to do. I was still living at Penshurst, so I wasn't living in the Shire, but it wasn't that far away. And I started praying, and on my heart was John 15. I am the vine. Bear fruit. Those that bear fruit. If you don't bear fruit, you could be pruned.
Yep.
Sorry, if you cut off bearing fruit, you're pruned to grow. And I was thinking, is this? So I was turning up to Mortdale Baps. I wasn't playing in the music or anything, but I was enjoying that, and it was near where I lived. I think about that time I might have been going out with my now wife, who was at uni as well. She was at Oatley Uniting, but I think her and I had also now and then gone to Mortdale Baps. So I was starting to get into the southern Sydney scene. And so the church service was on. It was really late back then. It was 7:15 or something like that. And he invited me to come along and just see a service. So I came over. I got it wrong. Like, I got there early because it was 7:15 and I got there at 6:30 or 6:45. Across the road from Guy Meier, I don't know if it's still there. There's just an empty...
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's part of that road that may never happen.
Yes.
It's F6 corridor.
Yeah,
Yep.
so because I got there early, I went and sat under a tree that's still there, I think. Stu knows all this.
Yeah.
And I opened up and I read John 15 and I prayed for God to, not a very evangelical theology of guidance, but I prayed to God for giving me a sign. And I prayed and I read and I went in, and it was a locum because they were preparing for Lindsay Stoddart, who was going to be the next minister. I think it could have been Jack Norman. And the Bible reading was John 15. And the sermon was on John 15.
Yeah, right.
And, I'd spent some time in a Pentecostal church, so for me,
there it is.
So I joined. So I became the music director of the evening service while I was at uni. So I started there in about 1990. And Lindsay came either a month before me or a month after me. And that started quite an exciting time for the church too. It became a little more missional and evangelical. It started to grow after being, I think more of a traditional Anglican church during the faithful but traditional. And so, we brought in modern music. I used my skills to sort of help flutes and oboes. There was an oboe. Learn not to just play the melody, but to sort of play around the melody, and did what I could from the piano to sort of zhoosh things up. And so I think I played every week at the start, and then we built the bands up and could take turns. I picked the music, worked with the minister to work out what the good songs would be and things like that. I think your question was, how did I get to the Shire? So
that's part of it.
I went a bit further than that. Right. Having done all that, I then got an option to live in a house for the second half of my uni course in Gymea Bay, down at the end of Ellesmere, and so actually the end of Banaba. I shouldn't really name names, should I? But
that's right.
It wasn't that street.
Don't tell us the number.
I was in Gymea Bay, so I could actually walk or ride my bike to church at that point.
Yeah,
so
cool.
and then I stayed at that church for about 20 years.
Yeah. Do you have any questions as the arts coordinator?
I've got plenty of music questions, but we could live here forever. Like, we probably won't move on. I'll ask one kind of question. Like, stepping into that role, like, it sounds like you weren't heavily involved in church music before that point in terms of...
Only once. Yeah.
Do you think that helped you, not having that experience? Or do you think that was something that was just a learning curve?
Up in Gosford at the Christian Centre, they got me on keyboard. Yeah. And I learnt pretty quick that classical piano did nothing. I mean, you had skills, but did nothing for church music. You didn't even get a melody off, and it was like lyrics with chords written above. Yeah. And being a Pentecostal church, the Spirit could lead. And so you got to be ready. It was good training. Like, the minister would go, the Lord's leading me to sing this song. And we're like, oh, she'd lead us to sing this song because we don't even have the music. So, we literally played songs now and then that we didn't have the music for from memory. Yeah. Wow. The songs could be extended, singing in the Spirit. So we would vamp over a pedal point and a bit of cymbal and whatever. So I think it was really actually good training.
Yeah.
So none of that stuff was really common at Meier.
No.
But to be able to just work out a comping pattern, not just simply now and then some Christian church music is notated for the benefit of those that need it.
Yeah.
But it's not a very good vibe to play. It has a milli in the right hand, has these chords on every crotchet or quarter note. So to be able to actually vibe a beat and a rhythm, I think that helps. So that grounding up there. When I moved to Sydney, no, I wasn't playing in any of the churches that I'd had short-term memberships of. So I think it was good at Meier to be able to serve. I loved being able to serve either from the piano or choosing the music or running the band practice. Yeah. So I think it was good. And I still play in church. So
nice. When you say comping chords, what does that mean?
It's to know. It's like strumming on a guitar. The piano version of strumming on a guitar is to know how many times to hit the chord per bar.
Yep.
Whether you're hitting straight, whether you're whether you're rock. Like the song "Imagine" by John Lennon. Da, da, I call it the John Lennon rocker. So you got two notes, one note, da da da. So what way, strumming up and down, strumming down only, muting and strumming. There's a version of that for piano.
Yeah.
Breaking the notes up, bum 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 bum, hitting them once, hitting them fast.
Yep.
That's comping. I think it stands for accompanying.
Okay.
And all you've got is a C, and then an E minor, and then an A minor 7.
Yeah.
So you got to know what white or black notes on the keyboard that A minor equals.
Yep.
Yeah.
And also what other notes you're allowed to drop in even if they're not written there.
Yeah.
That's where you get a nice sound.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So there's a note called the second or the ninth, works on almost any major chord. Or if you know a bit of blues stuff, you put a 7th in. So when you hear someone and you really like it, they're probably not playing what's written. They're probably playing around the chords.
Yeah.
But also knowing how to get out of the way of the singers as well.
Yeah.
So I think that's a key skill. And for a piano player,
piano massively.
if you've grown up classical, you've grown up being your own orchestra. So you're the bass, you're the chords, you're the melody, and you're the rhythm. You get in a band, you've got to actually think more minimalist too. So get out of the way of the bass guitar. Don't conflict with the drum kit. So you've got to learn to listen. So I think, just being a piano player rocks up at church and says, I want to play in church. You've got to ask a few questions. Can you play chords? Can you listen? Do you know other sounds too? Might be strings or an organ sound. So that's the kind of, that comping is learning how to work, how to accompany other people and how to work with a band.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Okay. Yeah, that's cool. Dave, we sometimes with our episodes we like to split it in two. So we might do that right now and say this is the end of part 1 and then we'll get stuck into part 2. But I think for part 2 we might leave the cliffhanger that you said that you met your wife. And we might get into that, but then also like how you kind of got involved with Stu and Soul Revival and stuff, which is probably part of the reason you're on this particular podcast in the first place. But we'll leave it at that. We'll be back very soon. We'll finish with the one way.